So on this meetup, you're going to have 3 signing service owners here with you this morning. Scott's on his way. He texted me he's on his way. But what I wanted to share is the most common errors that we see from notaries. Because a lot of times we ask for scan backs. We're getting feedback from our clients, and they're telling us, any errors or anything like that. So we wanted to share what we see as signing service owners, and then other things like we'll come back around a little bit later, but we'll also talk about what is it that will make you stand out? How do you get preferred? How do you get in connection with signing services? What are some of our pet peeves maybe that you can avoid so that you are the one that they prefer, that you do the good job. I want you to avoid all the mistakes we're going to talk about. All right, so that's what I wanted to share. So we'll have Dale go first. He got some notes. He has some notes here. Maybe you'll take some notes too. I'm also going to take some notes. But what are some of the errors that you see? Now again, if you hear a question come through, repeat it, because I'm actually going to record this, and if I like the recording, I put it on my podcast and YouTube channel. If you want to know more about it, there's my QR code right here at the end of the table here. You can scan that. And whatever I put on YouTube, I put on podcast platforms, whatever you like, it's there. But anyway, what are some notes you have that you see errors from? Now, do you see most of your errors from scan backs or from feedback you get from your clients?
I see them on the documents. So I'll start when it comes to me vetting a notary when I'm calling somebody out of state. I prefer if they're completely honest and upfront if they haven't done signings before, or if they are brand new and only done a couple and still unfamiliar. I'd rather they tell me and be upfront rather than act like they know everything and then run into a million issues at the closing, and then my phone's just nonstop because they don't know what they're doing. Because I've come across new notaries who will tell me that they are still new, they haven't done one of those signings before, and so I'll walk them through the paperwork before they go to the closing so they know what they feel more comfortable. But I'd rather do that than them be at the closing and I'm not prepared for them not knowing what they're doing, and then my phone's just blowing up because they don't know what they're doing. So being upfront and being honest, like I'll still give them the signing and I'll be prepared to be on call and ready to go for them, and I'll prep them with the paperwork before they go to it.
So do you physically or on the phone, do you like walk them through the package, like page by page? Do you do that?
Most likely I'll have them go through the document themselves and then come back to me with what things they have questions with and what things they're not sure of. And so I can walk them through that so they are confident when they get to that page.
Okay.
Another thing that I see a lot that notaries do, I'll start with some of them that are still new to it. When they see the word seal, they automatically think that's where a stamp goes. And that's not always the case. The word seal will also stand for signature. So on the note, the signature line on the note will say seal in parentheses 9 out of 10 times.
Has everyone seen a note? Yeah. So if you're not sure, a lot of times you'll see the signature line. Underneath the signature line, it'll have their name printed. Sometimes you also see the word date because they want them to date above. But sometimes at the end of the line, in parentheses, you see the word seal.
And some new notaries, right off the bat, will think seal means stamp, and they get confused because there's no notarial verbiage on there, and they'll just stamp it with no signature, no rhyme or reason, because they just saw the word seal. Yeah. And sometimes there'll be like, 2 signers on the note and 2 seals, so they'll stamp it 2 times. I've seen that, and it's like, where in the world did they?
Yeah, so seal does mean stamp. Seal also means
you're sealing it with your signature.
Yeah. It also means, a wax seal, right? Drip hot wax and you print that. It also means that too, but we don't do that. So yeah, it's the same thing, it's like what those words when they have is a homonym, is that what it's called? When 2 words mean the same thing, right? So it can mean signature, it can mean stamp, and it can mean hot wax with a metal seal impression or a ring. Right, but we don't do that. Yeah.
And another big thing that I see errors on are the 1003s, the applications.
Does everyone know what 1003, the universal loan application is? maybe explain what that loan application is.
So whenever you're applying for a loan or refinance,
who has purchased a home? Okay, so
when you're buying a house, you'll go through the application on the phone, usually with the loan officer, and they're filling everything out for you. And so everything's pretty much filled out based off of what you've given to the loan officer.
Now you're talking to them on the phone or you're in their office and they're inputting everything in their computer, but then it gets printed out in the loan documents. Exactly. So the uniform, Yeah, the uniform loan application, also called the 1003, 1003. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, here's a tip, you guys. Here's a tip for everyone here and people watching, listening. We need to speak their language. When I say their language, I'm talking about the loan officer, escrow officers. That's their language. They don't call it the loan application. Neely, confirm with me. Do you call it the loan application? Do you call it 1003? What do you call it? Yeah, right. That's what they call it. They don't call it the 1003. They don't call it the 1003. They call it the 1003. That's their language. So here's a tip for you guys: know their language.
Yeah. So get familiar with the verbiage when it comes to these documents. So the 1003 or the loan application, they've switched. So it used to be a certain loan application until about 2 years ago, and now they've switched it to a new version. But when it comes to reverse mortgages, they still use the old format. And so it's still good to learn that old format of the 1003 or the loan application and getting familiar with the old version and the new version. And in the new version, when there's a joint application, there's an area that requires initials for the first person, the first borrower, and then on the second page or a few pages in, there'll be a similar page for the co-borrower that they'll have to initial, saying that it's a joint application. A lot of people miss that and overlook that. As well as on the old style of the 1003, there was an area at the top of the application for the signers to sign, as well as at the end of it for them to sign. So knowing where the initials and the signature lines are, there's also a signature line for the loan officer to sign. And I've seen a lot of times where the loan officer gets confused and has the signer sign on the loan officer's signature line. So the 1003, getting familiar with both versions of that is critical.
So let me give a point here too on the 1003. What he's saying is, on the application, on the very first page, it's section 1A, and it's personal information. It's their name, it's their phone number, it's their address, and then it has a box mark. It's actually a circle, I should say. It's a circle mark, and it says, I'm applying for individual credit, or I'm applying for joint credit. And if the box or the circle is marked, I'm applying for joint credit, and it'll say 2, 3, 4, how many people are on the loan? Let's just say it's 2. It's a husband and wife. Let's just say, for example, because that's the most common you'll run into. It'll say 2. It'll say 2, and then underneath it says put your initials. Whoever's name is in 1A, they need to put their initials. So that means if there's 2 applicants on the loan, that means there's going to be 2 places for initials. If there's 3 people on the loan, there's going to be 3 places to initial. You need to find those. And it's not standard. It's not always on page 1 and always on page 4. Sometimes it's on page 1 and page 4, sometimes it's on page 1 and page 2.
Or there's 2 separate applications
Or there's
completely.
it's a whole other packet. It's like 10 pages for one person, 10 pages for the second person, because they have different last names, for an example.
So yeah, get very familiar with the applications.
So if it says there's 2 applicants, that means there's going to be 2 places to be initialed. And I see they'll find one, they can't find the second one. Just gotta keep looking. It will be there 100% of the time. It will be there. And then you're talking about there's also a place for the loan officer to sign, but also a lot of people, notaries, don't realize who that is, and they have the borrowers sign that page too. So it'll say loan officer. The whole box, it says loan officer. It says the loan officer's name, what company they're with.
But they just see the signature line and automatically go, here, sign that one.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to verbiage, this just kind of popped in my head. The settlement statement, when it comes to the hearing loan officers or escrow officers referring to the settlement statement, you'll hear it called the HUD-1, the ALTA, and the settlement statement. They're all the same thing.
SS also.
Yeah. And so when you have the settlement statement, the ALTA, and the HUD-1, it's all the same document.
But the settlement statement is also just called the SS. Okay, because you might see signing service owners or title companies, they might send you a message, hey, on the SS, they're talking about the settlement statement. Now they expect you to know this, by the way. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So they're talking to you like you should be knowing this language. So that's why we're doing this, so you guys understand it all. All right, so yeah, settlement statement, HUD-1, ALTA, ALTA, SS, those are all the same things.
And then another big thing.
Sorry, what were you saying about that?
Oh, just that's just one of the verbiage that you'll hear. So just getting familiar with that. When it comes to witnesses that are needed on signings, there's certain states that do require a witness.
Does anyone, I'll interrupt you, does anyone know some of those states? Florida.
Florida's a huge one.
How about another one? What? In here. Oh, Maryland? Great question. I don't know. Georgia, I know, is one also. Yeah. Okay, go ahead about witnesses.
So when it comes to the witnesses, a lot of times notaries won't know what to do or completely miss that it's needed altogether, and it'll even be in the special instructions and they still will forget it. But when it comes to the witnesses, you as a notary, you can be the notary and the first witness. And so when it comes to having a witness there, you only need one other witness. And you gotta have that pretty much figured out with the title company beforehand whether or not they're going to supply a witness or you're going to need to supply a witness. And so reading the special instructions on that and knowing what you're getting into and knowing what you need to bring with you when you go there.
If just interjecting,
Mm-hmm.
if you get like something, I mean, like signing service that says this is available, will they tell you flat out before you agree or disagree?
Yes.
You need a witness?
Yes, they
So,
should have that.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, so getting a signing service request and it asking for the signing that will need a witness, yes, it will say that it needs a witness on there.
Okay.
If the event doesn't say that and after you've already accepted it and then it comes in later, oh yeah, we need a witness, that's when I would say, okay, well, you know what, let's renegotiate the fee then, because if I'm gonna have to bring a witness with me and pay for their time, you know, let's increase the fee a little bit. But yeah, usually it'll say that and you have to read that before accepting it and knowing that you can handle that.
Real quick, hold on to your question, Ruth, sorry. So I'm going to interject just because people that are watching or listening to my podcast, this country, nationwide. So you mentioned, Dale, that the notary can be the witness and the notary. Not in all states, like some states, for example, Missouri. If you're in Missouri, for example, you cannot also, even though it's allowed per the title company, it's not allowed in their state. So I'm just going to interject that, but that's not. To us, we're fine.
Yeah, there is another state that has that. I've seen that as well. Yeah.
But I will want to say this. This is a new thing I just learned, so I'm interjecting this as well because I just found this out this week. I'm dealing with this. If it's a Florida property and they do require a witness, what it says on the warranty deed, the signers will sign, and then there'll be a place for two witnesses. They'll say witness signature, and then you'll sign it. If you're going to be the witness, you'll sign it. Witness name, you'll print your name. And this is witness address. This is one thing I just found out that's new in Florida properties. You must put your whole address, city, state, zip included. And so this is for everyone listening.
And I just had a signing in Florida this morning, and they do actually have lines for the full address that has their address and another line for the city, state, zip. So
yeah, full address. That's a new law I just found out.
New from this year then?
What's that?
That's new for 2024?
Yeah, I have title companies in Florida that are my clients, and they said that was new as of January 2024. That's be full address. So that's why I'm saying I'm dealing with that right now.
You can be your own witness.
well, as the notary, in most states that require witnesses, you can be the notary and the witness.
And one of the witnesses.
yeah, and witness number one. No, you're witnessing and notarizing their signatures.
I wonder if it only requires one witness.
No,
Two.
usually it'll always be two.
Yeah.
Two witnesses required.
Because I did one, Florida
Yeah.
property, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
They required a witness, didn't ask for the address on it. And I didn't know I could be the witness, we just.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a good tip. So if you can hear, she's asking, she didn't know she could be a witness. If you see that and it does require witnesses and you see that come through, you can ask. You can feel free to always ask. Like, can I noticed this requires witnesses. May I be one of the witnesses? Doesn't hurt to ask. Yeah, makes your job easier too. You know.
I have a quick question. Would general notary work on this subject, like on wills? Can you be the witness and the notary as well?
So the question is, on general notary work, like on a will, for example, can you be a witness and the notary? You have to ask who hired you. You have to ask the law firm. So a lot of these questions you can ask directly to who hired you. Is it a law firm? Is it a title company? Is it a mortgage company? You can ask those questions directly to them and get your answers. Yeah. But don't be afraid to ask. Ruth, yeah.
So is it common that you have to bring your own witness in cases like that, or is someone else I was talking to said that in the case of like doing a sign like that, as long as there's someone else in the house that's over the age of 18 who is not party to that transaction, that they could be witness, like if mother-in-law is hanging out for the weekend.
Yeah. So maybe I'll have to deal you first. But the question is she's asking is, do you have to bring the witness every time? So let's just say you get an order come through and it says a witness is required. What do you do?
So if it says a witness is required, and if it doesn't already state that a witness will be there, or if I'm going to be supplying the witness, a lot of times what I'll do is when I'm calling to confirm the signing, I'll ask them if they're going to be providing the witness or if they need me to bring a witness there with me. And then I'll kind of gauge it from there. And if I need to bring a witness there with me, then I'll arrange for that. But
That's exactly what I do. I actually ask too. We have a witness there. Now for a lot of states too, or we're talking about specifically loan signings. When I'm saying this, they cannot even be a relative. So even like if it's a mother-in-law, an 18-year-old daughter, a lot of times they cannot even be a relative,
Yeah,
even if they're not buying it.
So yeah, usually it'd be like a neighbor or a friend, and if it's a family member, they don't want anybody related when it comes to the as a witness.
It will say that on the orders, though.
Yeah, it'll usually say that.
Usually specifically say cannot be a family member.
It's a collusion thing, and I think
Yeah.
I think another thing to add into that is it's here in Utah we are required to have witnesses on wills, and you could be one of them, but this other one needs to be someone else.
And somebody just asked that question, could you be the witness on a will, not your own witness?
Yeah.
A witness.
You can be a witness on a will. It's the only time. It's one of the one of the few things that you can be self-notarized. It's the only document in Utah law that you're allowed to be a self-notarized on. You can be the witness and still be named in the notary witness box.
Interesting.
Had a long discussion with an estate planning attorney about that because they were like, they're like, we want to do it. We want to start doing it this way. Can we do it that way? And I said, absolutely. I'm like, as long as we still have to have that other witness, and it can't be related to the family.
Okay. All right. What other notes do you have?
All right, the other one would be when it comes to the deed of trust and the notes, a lot of times there won't be initials required on the bottom of every page, but every now and then there are some lenders that do require the initials from both parties signing or anybody who's signing on the documents to initial each and every page of the note as well as the deed of trust.
Sometimes the 1003 as well. So yeah, a great note on 1003s, notes, deeds of trust. Look in the bottom right. Is there a line, I should say, for initials?
And sometimes they're hidden. Sometimes you'll just see a dash with a slash in between the two, which means those are where initials go. So. No, always. No. You want
That's
to
what he's
just be
saying, watch
careful
for
to watch
those.
for those. You want to glance at the bottoms of the pages of the deeds and the notes to make sure there's no initial areas. And if there are, they're going to be for every single page of that.
And I would say the 1003. And I would also add this. A lot of times, let's just say the note, let's just say it's 4 pages, and they want initials. No, I'm sorry, the deed of trust. The deed of trust. Let's just say it's 20 pages, the deed of trust. And it has to be initialed on every single page. And page 19 of 20, the borrowers sign and they initial. Page 20 of 20, you notarize. But don't forget, they might have to initial that page too. A lot of people forget. They'll get all 19 initialed, and they'll forget to initial the notarization
I
page.
had one of those yesterday.
Yeah, so that's a good one.
I was like, oh, almost missed it.
Yeah.
Other one that I'll also throw it into is sometimes on the legal descriptions. Started seeing that even like when
Yeah,
you're on it, like
the
on
Exhibit
seller's
A,
packages.
the Exhibit A sometimes will be on there.
They've started throwing initials on that legal description so that they can say, yep, the borrowers knew what property they were selling.
Yeah.
Another one is in the documents, especially underneath the signer's signatures for the ALTA, they'll say there'll be a line for the closing agent, and that's the escrow officer. And
settlement agent.
Or the settlement agent. It'll be settlement agent or closing agent, and that's for the escrow officer to sign. And I've had where notaries will sign their name there, because they think, oh, I'm the closing agent. I'm the one closing it. That's for me, and they'll sign that. And then there's other areas, and they just keep signing all those too. So
Like instructions from the lender that they'll have a thing for the escrow officer to sign saying, I followed these instructions.
yeah,
It's like the notary just signed that. Great.
Right. So when it comes to loans, we're loan signing agents. Okay, we're not the settlement agent. We're not the settlement officer. We're not the closing agent. I'm not the closing officer. Those are for
You're not the
title.
funder.
the only time where I've seen where you do sign in that situation is when you're checking their IDs. There are some documents where you're checking their IDs and you are signing as the one who's checking their ID, and it'll say like closing agent on there.
Or / notary public.
Yeah, so those are the only times you're signing in that line is because you're actually doing that part of the work.
Like,
That's only on the I-9.
Well, it would be on the
Act.
Patriot Act or a similar form of an
like-
IDE
like a
verification.
Like Rocket Mortgage and Wells Fargo have their own versions of the
Mhm.
Patriot Act. Rocket Mortgage is really interesting because it will actually say closing attorney or notary.
Yeah, certain states they have to be a notary.
Have to have an
Yep.
attorney.
Yeah, in like Georgia, you have to be an attorney in order to do closings.
It was kind of funny because it was for a Utah property. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Because the title company is based in Michigan.
yeah. No, the title company was here. It was
Oh, was
Utah
it?
property. I was like, did Rocket like send the
Oh,
wrong
oh,
form
right,
over?
right.
Still signed it.
Yeah.
So there's another mistake is every now and then the lending company or the title company will throw in an extra all-purpose acknowledgement, and it's just an extra one to use in the event that something comes up and you need to use the acknowledgement, but then you can just keep those for yourself if you don't need it. But some notaries will just fill it out and stamp it with no rhyme or reason just to put that in there just because they saw it, and so you can't go doing an acknowledgement and signing and stamping something that you're not actually acknowledging and notarizing. So when you see those, you leave them blank or keep them for yourselves.
They're just
So-
loose certificates.
Yeah, they're just a loose certificate. So when you come across those, don't think it's something for you that you have to do. Yeah, there has to be a rhyme or reason why you're signing and stamping.
I mean, you'll see it especially with like California deals.
Yeah,
Because they have their very specific notarial verbiage that they have to have, and their very specific certificates that they have to have. But there's nothing that says that you have to use, that certificate. If let's say it's on the notary sections on that page that they signed, you don't need to fill in that California acknowledgement that's on page right after it.
But when it's loose, do you have to attach it to what it's notarizing?
so when you're doing documents, a loan document, and you have to pull a loose one out, you're going to put it right behind the thing that you just, what you're doing it for. So when they're going through the pages, it's all in order and it makes sense what you're doing.
You don't have to add anything to it so they know what it's notarizing? Or like,
Well, being that it's following that page and it's all together as a package, you should put it right behind the page that it's following.
And you can potentially, if you feel more comfortable, you can always write under the acknowledgement. Like I like to write for whatever document it
Some,
is.
depending on the all-purpose acknowledgement format that you have too, some will actually say on there what document and how many pages is it that you are notarizing.
And attaching it to. If it's general notary work, you do need to
You
Attach
attach it. Yeah, you'll staple it. Yeah.
Staple it. Yeah, there's no, it just says attached. That's
Attached.
what
So
that's
paper clip,
paper clip.
I heard
staple.
that someone said that some companies don't like the staples in their documents.
Well, that's if you're doing loan packages and you're sending it to the title company. Yeah,
They
you
gotta
don't.
stick it through their scanner.
Yeah, and it's gonna
So we're
jam.
doing two different things here. General notary work, if you have a loose certificate, it must be attached. Loan signings, you do not attach it. It just goes right next
Behind
to
it,
Mhm.
yeah. And then when it comes to refinancing and purchasing, one of the documents that you'll see is called the affidavit of occupancy. And on that
Does everyone know what
page-
that is? Affidavit of occupancy, they're just stating what they're using the property for.
Yeah, so there'll be boxes. Is this a refinance of or is this my primary residence? Is this
Investment,
an
second
investment
home.
property?
Vacation home.
Yeah, vacation home. So one of those, if it's a refinance, will be there'll be a blank box some of the times or a blank line, and it's
Oh.
asking for the month and the year that the home was first purchased. And a lot of people overlook that and don't fill that out. So that's just something, if you come across that page and it's not already pre-printed, there'll be a blank line there. So you'll make sure you let the signers know they need the month and the year that the home was first purchased.
In fact, a good tip, anytime you see a blank line, question that.
Yeah,
Like,
look at
do I
what
need
it
to
is.
fill this in?
Usually like on the title documents, when it comes to if the house needed a survey or if anything was done, gosh, I can't think of the name of the document right now. But there'll be lines where you have to write the word none, where nothing was done.
Owner's affidavit.
Yeah, the
Owner's
owner's
affidavit.
affidavit, yeah. So it's asking if
Any
anything,
liens, any unpaid, yeah,
Encumbrances.
encumbrances, any unpaid contractors, plumbers,
and
things
not
like that.
every line needs to write the word none, but there are certain ones that they do require write the word none if
Yeah,
none
please
is.
fill in or write none.
Yeah, so those are just something that you'll see.
Yeah, in fact, maybe point out that.
Refinances or purchases.
Yeah. You'll
Sales-
occasionally see it with sales.
Sales
I
too,
have-
yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah.
started seeing it more and more with sales because they want those owners that are selling the property to indemnify for their owner's policy.
Correct.
In fact, let me point out that too. We're saying the words none, not NA. Because NA, what does NA stand for? Not applicable. Well, this is an applicable question. So the answer cannot be NA. This is applicable. The answer has to be whatever or
It's either
none. Yeah.
Either they have an outstanding loan or they don't.
Yeah.
Either they have repairs or they don't, right?
Yeah, yeah. So not NA, none.
Like I had one yesterday where they were selling the property in Oregon, and there were repairs that were done, about $8,000 worth of contractor liens.
They have to fill it in. This is who we paid. This is when it was finished.
Yeah, and so they had to fill out all of that information. We didn't put none because I'm going, I've got an invoice right here, and we're being paid out of escrow $8,000 to this contractor to fix to fix the stairs
Right.
in the house. I'm like, you need to put that on there because that's gonna, that's important. That is, it has been in the last 120 days. It was less than 7 days ago.
Yes.
We're going to pay them off through escrow, but just in case, we don't want you to be in trouble for not disclosing that information.
And that's on what affidavit?
Owner's affidavit.
That is the owner's
Yeah.
affidavit?
It's usually a title insurance form.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're basically making sure the title's free and clear for the new buyers. Or themselves if they're refinancing. You have another one?
But
Yeah.
there are occasions that you have to write that in.
Yeah, if they do have a lien on us. Like sometimes, like some people
Solar
have like a solar
panels,
panel
yeah.
lien on their little house, so that'll be written down on there.
Or they have an option contract in place. I started seeing a lot more of those. I don't know if you guys
Option to
have.
buy
Yeah, they have there's an option to, like, there's somebody's placed an option
to buy the house.
property.
Yeah.
That's becoming more and more common. Or there's a right of first refusal. I actually just did one of those.
Yeah, because if they're renting out the house, maybe they have an option for the renters to buy in the future.
And then the other thing was on selling documents. If you have a seller's documents, a lot of times there's going to be like certain documents that the buyers had signed or invoices that the sellers are just read and approved. And there's just little lines at the top of the pages that you'll see read and approved, and the sellers just sign off that they saw those documents.
Yeah, so it's basically what the title company or mortgage company has done. They have a stamp, and they just stamp it on the page, and it says read and approved. They're just signing they saw it. This could be like on a warranty deed that they saw.
Invoices.
Or an invoice,
survey,
a survey,
inspection report.
inspection
for,
report,
Like,
Termite, yeah.
the county taxes. That's also there. So they just want them to say, we showed this to you, you saw it, just sign that you saw it.
You were aware.
Yeah, so those documents, you'll have to, on seller documents, look for those little areas that sometimes they just,
They'll put it in random parts on the page. There's
yeah,
no, like,
but sometimes they'll
hierarchy.
just do like X's and lines, and that's where they sign.
They draw
Or
it
there's
on,
a
yeah.
stamp.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just want initials, sometimes they want signatures.
Sometimes they want a signature and a date.
Yeah, sometimes, and those will be specified, but look
Yeah.
for those when you're doing
That's
seller
good, that's
documents.
good.
Because they'll stamp them in, like, wherever they can find a blank space on the page.
You're right.
It's like, I had one on a survey a couple of weeks ago that I literally almost didn't catch it because of the fact that it was in.
Yeah, if you ever see those survey pages where it's a picture of the survey,
Like the map.
look for anywhere on there that has
Yeah.
signatures or
It was, like,
initials.
It was down
Yeah.
in the tiniest little corner. I was like, I'm like, I can't even read that says signature.
Yeah, sometimes they're not there and you don't have to worry about it, but I will scan that page all over it, just looking for one just in case.
Especially in states that are really survey based, like Texas.
And then that just reminded me too, you're gonna get termite reports, even though Utah's not big for termite reports, you'll get termite reports if there's FHA loans,
VA or USDA.
the VA loans will always have one, and the reverse mortgages.
And USDA.
Oh yeah, those are usually gonna be because they're VAs. But yeah, you'll see those, and
It'll say wood destroying insect inspection report.
And at the-
Wood destroying insect inspection report.
yeah, and at the very bottom, there's gonna be an area for, it'll say purchaser or seller / refi. So when it's refi, they're gonna sign it on the line where it says seller, even though they're not selling because it's a / refi area. So watch out for that on the termite reports.
But it has to be signed.
Yeah, those termite reports do have to be
And
signed.
if there's, let's just say, back to the example of a husband and wife, there's only one signature line, just one of them has to sign.
I think that's it for the common mistakes that I've
So
seen.
pass your mic over to Scott.
There
And
you go.
Scott will, and if you say something that Dale has mentioned,
Yeah.
we'll cut you off.
Okay.
But go ahead, what are some of the things that you're seeing as a signing service owner
Yeah.
from notaries? And we're gonna circle back around later, talk about things that help them
Them,
as a signing service owner.
absolutely.
But right now, we're just talking about the most common errors.
Yeah, so one of the big common errors, I just had it literally last week, is somebody put their notary stamp on the Patriot Act.
Oh, on the Patriot Act.
where they're
So
supposed to sign.
They signed that they looked at the ID.
But
then
instead
they
of
just
signing it,
stamped
they just stamped it.
Yeah. Again, like Dale mentioned earlier, you can't. There has to be a rhyme or reason why you stamped it, right?
Yeah.
And you're the one that signed the.
But I
Patriot
literally
Act.
looked at it and I was like, how is this a notarization? Like, yeah, no. So that was a good one. Another one is, as a signing service owner, one of the big ones that I see a lot is people that will send they will send in when they return the documents, they have changed the order of like what things where things are supposed to be at. Like, it's like, oh, the deed of trust, like the first 10 pages are here and the other 10 pages are like at the back. And I'm like, what they don't realize is that means that my escrow officer had to take 10 minutes of their time to put the package
put
back
them back
together
together, yeah.
before they can send it to the lender. And that does not make them happy. They
So your tip is keep everything in the way you got
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you get it and you're not if you get it in its several different attachments, because that does sometimes happen, you can just keep the attachments the way that they came. If it's, okay, there's title docs in this attachment and loan documents in this attachment, keep the title docs with the title docs and the loan documents with the loan documents. Don't go meshing and mashing things around.
Yeah, what I do is the first things I do is I do the settlement statement and the closing disclosure. Those are the final numbers. So I do those first just to get those out of the way. Say, hey, these are your final numbers. These look right. I want to catch these early because, like Scott was saying, the title documents might be first. It might be 25 pages of title documents, which is the settlement statement. That's a title document. And then 25 pages later, now we get to the loan documents, and now we have the closing disclosure. I don't put them together. I keep them separate, but I do those first. So I take out the title documents to the side. Here's your settlement statement. Yeah. Here's your closing disclosure. Here are your final numbers. Does those look right? Great. They do. Go ahead and sign, and I put them back in order. And I'll go right back to the beginning. Hey, let's finish these title documents. Now we'll go into these loan documents as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so I think that's a really important thing because you don't want to send a package back and make the title company frustrated because then they call me and are like, Scott, don't use that notary again because the package sucked and I just spent 15 minutes putting it back together, trying to make it look pretty again, because they have to send it to the bank, right? They've got to send it to Wells Fargo or Chase or whoever that is to be approved. And if it doesn't look good, that reflects badly on them. Mm-hmm. And that package that gets scanned back, it's not just going to end up in escrow's thing. It's going to end up in the bank's hands. It's going to end up in the government's hands. It's going to end up eventually in the borrower's hands on both sides of the transaction, the realtor's hands. Like, everybody's going to see your work, and if it's messy, they'll know that you're a messy notary.
Right.
It's like it takes 5 seconds. If it's like if you made a mistake on your notary acknowledgement, or the borrowers have make it really nasty on the thing, swap the page out. It takes just a couple of minutes to flip through their borrower's package and swap the page out, right? So I think that's one of the big things is make it clean, make it really clean and crisp, because it's gonna be around forever, right? Like that's what the people are going to have in their email box forever anytime they look at that house.
Yeah.
And that goes the same for the pages that you're notarizing. You're keeping those in the exact same spot they are.
Yeah, same spot they are. Yeah, clean, crisp, as it should be, right? So that everything's staying in order and staying that way.
All right, great. What's another one you got?
Another big one, I would say, is not, he mentioned it before, filling out random acknowledgments. The other one is attaching acknowledgments where there shouldn't be an acknowledgement.
Oh, so you just attached one. Okay.
Yeah, like I had one where they literally attached a notary acknowledgement to every single signature page.
Oh, okay. That just shows an experience, right?
Yeah, shows an experience, but it's also just like, you just made that package way bigger than it needed to be.
Yeah. Just because you are a notary, it doesn't mean you have to notarize every page that the borrower signed.
Yeah. I mean, it was like every single page, and I was like, yeah, it was super funny because escrow called me, and they were like, I think you need to explain to the notary that we don't need everything notarized.
Right. That's a good one. What else?
But if that happens, they just took out the ones they didn't
need. Yeah.
But again, that's more work for them, right? Yeah,
more work for them. We don't want not to mention, you just have created a bunch of loose leaf acknowledgments that are floating around out there with your name and signature and stamp on them.
Yeah. Hopefully they shred them, right?
Yeah. Hopefully they get shredded. No big deal because it is going back to the title company. But still, like, nonetheless, like, stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it's like you've just created extra liability for yourself. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
Another one, stapling packages, which we kind of already mentioned. I've also seen where they will paperclip random sections together.
Yeah, when it comes to loan packages, mortgage documents, do not use any staples or paper clips. Maybe you can explain why. Why do they not use that?
Because
They're throwing them in a scanner.
They're throwing
They're throwing in a
It's gonna
scanner.
jam the scanner. Yeah, yeah. Because you
Oh,
might get you might get a cashier's check, something like that, and that's okay if you want a paper clip it. But I would do it at the top, the very front.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna see that very top page. If you're gonna clip it, I actually prefer like a binder clip, like a mini one.
Yeah.
Get them at Dollar Tree. I clip it right to the front so they see it. But yeah, throughout the package, do not put staples or
So
paper
that
clips.
just reminded me of something. So sometimes in the packages, when people are getting money back, they'll ask to attach a voided check. And so there'll be on the page a place to attach a voided check where sometimes you could tape the check down if you want, as long as it doesn't get caught in the scanner. But it's better just to put it at the front of the package, attach it to the front, and I'll usually leave a note when I'm completing it that a voided check is attached to the front. Mm-hmm. And then that way the title company knows there's a check there, and it's not going to jam up the scanner when they go to scan it.
yeah, and they'd also make sure that if they like we as the signing service have requested scan backs, that we'll actually be able to make sure you scan that voided check back.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
a good one.
That's a
Usually what I'll do is I'll take a picture of the voided check and include that with the
Yeah.
scanned documents.
because so many times that's one of the when I'll send if it's like a same day thing where we're trying to fund it off of scans or something weird, and there's no voided check, they're going, where's my voided check, where's my voided check, and the notary's already gone and dropped the package in, and now we don't have a picture of that voided check, and it's just delaying things. So yeah, just get a picture of that. If they have it or don't have it, whatever. Like
I would say get a picture of every check, even if it's the cashier's
Just
check.
check.
I would get
Yeah.
that too to show proof in case it gets, who knows what FedEx or UPS does. You can say, I got
that
it.
chain of
and
custody.
and I dropped it off, and I don't know what happened to
yeah,
it.
they lost the 250 grand
Yeah.
check. Do you have an extra
anytime there's a
250
check.
grand lying around?
There was that crash the other day where everything inside, I can't remember if it was FedEx or UPS customer, and
That happens every year.
it can happen.
Yeah.
Every year there's some kind of mix up with FedEx where packages don't arrive.
Where they're supposed to, when they're supposed
A
to.
huge crash out in Memphis or something, or just something happens.
Tornado.
Yeah, tornado.
Windstorm. Yeah, I mean, stuff happens, and so that's a big important thing. Other big thing as a signing service owner is read the instructions. The instructions that we provide, sometimes they are really broad and general, but I don't know about Derek and Dale's signing service. My signing service, I write my signing instructions to that specific package.
I do.
And
I do a lot of details too.
yeah, a lot of details to be very specific to what my escrow officer and I have agreed upon are acceptable terms and conditions for that. They're not long. I try to keep mine under a page, if not a couple very bullet pointed. Like if it's a seller's package, I think mine is usually like 5 bullet points. It's like boom, boom, boom. These are the 5 most important things,
I do bullet points.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When I saw you start doing that, Derek, I was like, I like that. I'm still
yeah,
in that.
yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you get really crazy long, like it's everything under the sun. Still read through it because there may be something that's going to be relevant and important to that package.
Well, you got to think, why are they doing that? Because they get a lot of mistakes from notaries. That's why we're doing this. So you guys are not the ones that cause the mistakes.
So you don't have your own paragraph.
Because of you.
I just remember something as well. When it comes to being good at what you're doing, learning how to use your scanner and knowing how to use your scanner before accepting a signing that requires scan backs. I've had multiple notaries who seem like they've never scanned a thing in their life. And I'll even let them know, hey, scan backs are required. Do you have a scanner? Yes, I have all that. And when it comes to, all right, they finished their signing, but now it's taking 6 hours to get me scan backs because they've never used a scanner in their life. And yeah, and I'm like, wait a minute, you said, oh my gosh. So yeah,
Or
I've
the
had
scanner is
nightmares.
one of those, they're trying to use their phone to do it as a scanner.
Yeah, those are nightmares too, especially when there's like 100-something pages and they're using their phone. That's a nightmare. But the knowing how to use your scanner prior to accepting an order that requires scanbacks is a must. And knowing how to reduce the quality of your scanner so the file's not so large is also very good to know. Because a lot of people think, oh, I need high resolution so they look really good. But now when you scan it in and try to send it, it won't send because your file is like 200 megabytes.
And your
And
Gmail's
it-
going,
And
nope.
it's only going to accept 25. So knowing how to reduce the quality of your scanner and knowing how to use your scanner prior to accepting a scanback order is a must.
Because the scan back, as a signing service, the scan backs are just for you to check it and make sure it's correct.
Not necessarily,
Not
no. It's for
necessarily.
the title company because they need to fund that day.
So they use that.
Say they can use the
Yeah,
scanbacks
that's
to
what they're
fund.
Yeah,
and
that's what
then
they're going to
they'll
send
wait.
to Wells Fargo or Chase or whoever
Yeah.
it is.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. They don't need high definition. They just need to know it's correct.
They gotta
Yes.
see it. They gotta see the stamp.
Yeah.
But you know, a lot of times
dates,
you're not
the
having
signature.
high resolution pictures in your documents. It's just words. So you don't need to have the biggest quality.
You don't need 1200 DPI
just to see the word "the" in the
in
signature.
all, in all
Yeah.
beautiful color. Like,
The lowest resolution. I take mine all the way down to the lowest resolution.
I would be careful of that though.
Well, yeah, when you scan it in, look at it first. With the lowest resolution, it still shows up everything pretty good on mine.
150 by 150 is usually a good one DPI.
I like about 300 just because then
That's
this
high, though. That's gonna take a lot of.
300 black and white.
I don't do black and white because that way they can see that blue ink was
That's
done.
true.
Maybe that's why too. I do color.
I do color on mine just because I want
Yeah.
them to know that I did use blue ink.
And then I did use my purple ink stamp.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're right. 300 black and white. Yeah, that's good. But I do color, so I do like 150 by 150 or 200.
Yeah. Depends on what I'm doing and what we're sending them in
Yeah.
as.
Good point.
So I know if I'm scanning in about 200 pages, it's right around 25 bags.
And we're talking about scanning, right? We're talking about PDFs. We're not talking about pictures. Do not do scanbacks with JPEGs. Do not.
Well-
As little of PDFs as possible. 1 or 2
Yeah.
PDFs as possible.
It's like there are online PDF combiners if you really, are struggling.
Yeah.
I've had some notaries send me back a whole package in like 8 files because they couldn't figure out how to
Use
lower
their
the
scanner.
resolution. So
Good luck.
Using online PDF
Adobe.
Like I have Acrobat, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't use it,
Acrobat.
but I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't go on.
Yeah, I wouldn't go
some
to some
websites
random
just
website.
because-
No. I'm saying like if you have Adobe Reader where it can compress or combine Acrobat.
yeah, if you have something that can like
Yeah.
compress it, that's cool. But if not, and you're sending the files as PDFs and they're like 200 megabyte, it's not going to send.
Yes, put that up. And if you're struggling, at least name it 1 of 7, 2 of 7, 3 of, at least name it so we kind of know what order it's in. I can combine it.
But that's
You
one of
don't-
those things
you
too,
know.
with being upfront and honest when you're getting called from a service and asking you, and they're vetting you to do the work, and if they ask you if you have a scanner and if you can send scanbacks and you say yes, at least know how to use your scanner and that you've operated it in the past to be efficient in it.
So quick question, who has a scanner? Have you used your scanner? You guys, okay, all right. So yeah, so if you haven't, that was a good time to go home today and practice it. And in fact, still practice it anyway. Do you know how to change the DPI? Do you know how to change your settings? Do you, yeah,
I
look,
have Acrobat, so I could just.
yeah, do you know how to combine PDFs? Do you know how to,
Remove and add a page.
yeah, do you know how to condense it,
One of the funny things that I've noticed, and it took me a minute when I'm doing scan backs, the scan will go through on the other page, and so then mine will automatically scan
Oh.
two-sided. So I have to go back through my scan to delete that page,
So
or remember to not do two-sided.
well, it's a settings issue. Do you know why?
Huh?
You're on double-sided printing.
oh no on the scanner. So on the scanner,
Scanning.
right before you scan it, there's usually an option for scan double-sided. Deactivate that so it's not double-sided.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, or after it does scan, if you forget that, there's usually a little tab that says to take off the
So real quick,
Blank
in case
pages.
that people didn't hear Lisa's question, she was just saying sometimes when she's scanning, her stamp leaks through the back and it's scanning that page as well. It's because your scanner settings is set to double-sided, so it's recognizing 2 sides. If you just have it on single-sided, it'll never do that. So just make sure your scanner settings are set to single-sided scanning. Scott, any other common errors you see?
Trying to think. I'm like,
All right. Well, you think I'll
Yeah.
I'll do two that I've got that I haven't heard yet that I'll mention here. If the signers are making a mistake, so let's just say today's January 10th, 2024, right? Let's say they're going to date it 2/10/24. The most common mistake is they'll do 2/24. They do the month and then the year. I don't know why. I don't know if that's you guys. That's the
It
most
happens a
common
lot.
mistake I
Or
see.
they do year or day, month, and then year, or they mix it all up.
Yeah, this
Year,
date.
month, day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do never bold it. Don't trace it over 5 times. Don't just initial that. No, strike it one time, or them have the borrowers, or if it's in your notary section, do this too. Whoever made the mistake, strike it one time, initial it, do the correction. Don't bold it. Don't retrace it. If they put, instead of putting the year of 24, they put 23. Don't have them do 20 times. No. They don't want that. Just strike through it, redo it, and then put your initials.
kind of go back to that, keeping it
Yeah.
clean.
Keep it clean. Oh, I preferably actually you printed copies. You can just swap out the page. That's what I prefer. And then another one I see a lot of times is in the notary section, especially on jurats. So you guys know the difference between jurats and acknowledgements. So the jurats, they'll say subscribed and sworn before me on this date. They put the dates, and then the signature line or the notarization line. A lot of times the names are missing. In our notary sections, the name must be there. A lot of times I am hand writing in people's names. So, sworn and subscribed before me on this 10th day of January 2024. And that's it.
By.
And that's also by Scott Warner, right? I write in people's names all the time because they were there.
And to add to that, you can't put like Joe and Jan Smith. You
Even
have
if
to
they
put,
share the last name.
Yeah, you have to put Joe Smith and Jan Smith.
Yeah. Don't combine
Yeah,
the names.
Yeah, you can't combine them.
Show that they're individuals.
Yeah, good one. All right, so you want to pass the mic over to Dill? So let's talk real quick. We got like 10 more minutes here. Share what can notaries do to stand out? What can they do to make our jobs easier?
Communicate. Communication is the one thing that I wish everybody would do. And
Take
when
a
it comes
communications course.
when it comes to the real estate agents, the loan officers, and the title company, for some reason, communication falls apart. And I feel like in a lot of times I'm the one like coordinating a lot of things because nobody else is communicating.
We are, yeah.
Yeah, but then when it comes to the notaries, I need them to let me know what's going on. If they're at a signing for a lot longer, or if something happened and they had to reschedule to a different time, and I'm expecting the work to be done at a certain time, and I haven't heard from them, and I'm reaching out to them going, hey, what's going on? How come I haven't heard from you? And then they're telling me things after the fact instead of calling me or texting me or emailing me and letting me know the situation, because they're doing work for me and they're keeping me out of the loop. So communicating with me and keeping me informed of everything that's going on so I can pass that on to the title company, that to me is more relieving and less of a headache, and I feel better about using them in the future because they are completely open and transparent and able to tell me what's going on. And having that just makes everything goes way smoother.
I have a phrase: you can never over communicate. I've done an episode about it actually. You can never over communicate. It's just the more information you give me, I'll take it.
Yeah, going along with communication, I was working for a signing service on Wednesday, and the borrower called me and was like, I'm running behind schedule with work things. I need to push back 30 minutes. Well, that 30 minutes was the time that I needed to be able to do scans because I was like, to be able to, before cutoff and make it to FedEx. So I called the signing service and I said, okay, the guy needs to move back 30 minutes. That's going to put us finishing the signing at 4:15. I'm down in Provo, Utah, where cutoff is 4:30. I said, do you want scans or do you want me to make cutoff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they said, we don't know. Let us call the escrow. They called escrow. Escrow was like, we would love the scans, but we prefer making the originals, make sure we get them tomorrow because we need the originals back.
Yeah.
And because we have another signer that needs to sign. So they were like, we'll waive the scanning requirement. We're still going to pay you the fee because we had already taken the money for the scans, whatever. They're like, but we appreciate you communicating with us and letting us know and letting escrow make that call instead of you making that call.
Good. Anything else that notaries can do to make the job easier, or any pet peeves that you have as a signing service owner?
be realistic in expectations when you're working with this people, whether that's, I'll have scan backs to you by this time. It takes me this long to get to the signing, and it's going to take me this long to get back, whatever it may be. Communicate expectations, because we don't know. Especially when I'm dealing with someone out on the East Coast, I don't know how far away things are from each other or what last FedEx time is. Like, we're lucky in Utah. Our FedEx time is relatively simple. It's pretty much 5 o'clock universally across the board. Other states, it's all over the place.
It is.
And so they don't know. So communicate, let them know and say, hey, I'm picking up this signing from you at, that's for a 4 o'clock. Our last FedEx is 5. I'm going to do my best to try to make that FedEx, but I'm not 100% sure I can do it.
So what I'm hearing too, a great point, Scott, is know where your FedEx and UPS locations are and know their pickup times. Specifically the last pickup time. That's when you want to get to. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm hearing. Great. A couple of things that I've got is what I see, a lot of times a lot of notaries do not have any urgency. There's no urgency. There's no urgency to print the documents, to get there on time, to give me scan backs, things like that. So for me, when I see notaries that communicate with me and show a sense of urgency, hey, I upload the documents and they downloaded them right away. Versus, I had one just last month. She didn't download, she had them the night before, but didn't download them until an hour before, and then now she's struggling because she's having a technical issue. I'm like, well, I wish you had downloaded these last night, since I had these ready for you, so not an hour before. For me, the platform I use, I can see when they've looked at it, I can see when they've downloaded it, I can see all of that stuff. I can see everything.
Same thing with my platform.
So have a sense of
it
urgency.
It even sends me an email. It's like, hey, this person just downloaded this, and it's like, great.
Yeah, I get every notification. And then I would do quick updates. That was one thing I think that helped set me apart was, and Dale kind of alluded to it, communication. They never questioned where I was at in the process. If the appointment was at noon, by 12:30 when I'm done, they got an update. Well, while I'm leaving their house and I'm saying, okay, great, bye, have a great day, and I'm walking from their door to my car, I'm logging in and doing an update. Or I'll finish signing, I'll have scans to you within the hour, I'm heading to the office now, or I'm on my way to FedEx right now. And then here's a copy of their ID because they wanted a copy of their ID. I did it then and there.
Right.
And then they never questioned. So if my appointment was at 12 and 1 o'clock rolls around, they're like, are they still signing? This is a seller pack. There's only 20 pages. Is it taking an hour? Like, they never questioned me as a notary where I was at in the process. They always knew, I'm done. Here's copies of their IDs. Give me an hour, I'll have scans to you. Give me half hour, I have scans to you. I'm going to FedEx right now. They never had a question where I was at.
One of the things that I think, because I love as a signing service is when it's like, when I get this, I say scans are approved. If I get a response back of awesome, on my way to FedEx, it's a huge thing because it's like, okay, they are aware, they're paying attention, they haven't forgotten about my transaction. Because I think sometimes we try as fast as we can to review the scans. Sometimes we're doing other stuff too, so we can't instantly look over it. Or if it's a large package, if it's a reverse mortgage, it's 200 pages, it takes a minute to flip through. Right. And so I think one of the big things is looking at it and going, okay, there is a person on the other end of that signing service that I'm doing business with, and what are they thinking? What are they doing? How are they feeling about what a service I'm providing?
Yeah, so put yourself in the shoes of the signing service. What would you want?
Yeah, what would you want?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, okay, so say you hire a notary, you own a signing service, the notary does the service. Say the notary sends a business card back. Is that a no-no, or is that, because I've been signing up for signing services.
Yeah.
There was one in particular, the terms and conditions said, do not send your business card in, it's considered unprofessional. I haven't seen that anywhere else, but I'm just curious.
So what happens is the documents are not going back to the signing service. They're going straight to the title company. And so the title company is going to see this and go, what's this for? Why are they putting this in there? They're not going to do anything with it. But yeah. And then same with the invoices too. You putting your invoice with the documents is not going to go to the signing service, and they're never going to see that. The title company's going to see that, and they're going to wonder, why is this in here?
Okay.
Why is this for 75, but we're paying the signing service 100?
Yeah. Okay.
So you're not going to want to put any extra documentations with anything you're sending back.
Yeah, they won't. Yeah, it'll just be tossed out. Yeah, we're over. It's Q&A session now. We got about 10 minutes, so yeah.
With the signing
Let's repeat the questions. So the signing service, your question is the signing service paying the notary? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so the transaction is this, behind the scenes a little bit, the title company gets an order, and they say, okay, we need to get they call it a mail out. So that's another verb, right, or a verbiage that they use. Yeah, out of office, a mail out, a remote notary, that's what they call it. So say, okay, we need to get this, so let's go to our signing service. Okay, this is the area we need a notary at.
It's called peak signings.
Yeah, let's call them. Let's get it done. We say in communication. Okay, we got notary for you. This is the time they're set. They're going to send us the documents. I say, here's the documents for the notary. We're going to upload it to our portal. The notary downloads it, signs, as you know, signs, drops it off. And that's why we're waiting too. I need that update so I can tell my client, because they know how long it takes to do a seller packet. They know how long it takes to do a refinance. They know it.
They're doing it all day long.
They know how long it takes. So when an hour and a half goes by, have we heard from the notary yet? No, I haven't. Right? So that's why we want to do
And they're getting
communication.
pressure from the realtors and the loan
Yeah.
officers.
Have you heard? Everyone's asking, have you heard? That's why you want to do updates as soon as possible. That's why I do it. From the moment I walk out the door, I'm doing updates. But anyway, I get the update from the notary. I let the title company know, or my client know, all right, they're all finished signing, and then I give them my invoice. And then at that point, they take it to their accounting department. They'll issue me my payment, and then I have a net 30 that I pay the notaries. The reason why it's a net 30 is because sometimes I don't get paid right away. You know, because I have some smaller title companies, and as soon as it funds, they're cutting me a check for every single invoice I send them, right? And then I have some companies that are big and they have to send it to their whole accounting department. They have accounts payable, but I'm not the only one in their accounts payable. They've got rent to pay, they got utilities to pay, they've got funding they need to issue out payments for. I'm probably I'm on the bottom of the totem pole, right? They have their water machine people and their coffee delivery, right?
Paper shredders.
Yeah, shredding company. I'm probably on the bottom of the totem pole. But
Like,
also,
oh yeah, I guess we'll pay Derek this month.
yeah, I guess we'll send them payment. But also sometimes too is, let's just say we do a signing, everything looks fine, but then 2 weeks later, the county catches something, and they're like, "Oh, this is something's wrong." If I go to the notary and I just say, "Hey, I need you to fix this," like, "No, you already paid me, and I'm not doing that." Right? You have to pay me extra. It's like, okay, well, I'm not even going to pay you then unless you get this done. You're not finished yet, right? Until this is done, you're not getting paid because your job's not done yet. So yeah, that's the flow of things,
And
just
sometimes
behind the
it's hard
scenes.
Sometimes it's hard to get payments from your clients,
Yes, yeah.
like, because what if the deal doesn't close? And it's no fault of the notary, no fault of anybody involved. It just doesn't close because the buyer, let's say it's the seller's side, the sellers and you have done everything, and the buyers didn't show up to closing.
Mm-hmm.
There is no
Or
money
they backed
to pay.
out.
There is no money to pay you. There is no money to pay us.
Yeah,
Like,
or they back out, and
they back out, right? And
sellers get the earnest money, but then they're the only ones that get paid.
they're the only ones that got paid, right? And so we usually, at least, and every agreement's different. Some of my title companies are like, well, we can pay half and you can pay half. Others are like, yeah, we don't have it. So then that's coming out of my pocket as the signing service owner.
Notary did their job.
Because the notary did their job, right?
And as signing services, how involved do you guys get when you're getting a new signer? A new notary, like, are you taking a mentorship role sometimes, or is it they either know their stuff or they don't?
So the question is we're hiring a new notary. You're asking was there a vetting process, or is there is there a mentorship that we're end up doing?
It's clear they're new and and they may not know everything. Like,
Yeah.
are you getting on calls and like teaching them stuff?
I just did
How
this.
involved?
I did this last week. I had a notary, and she said she's done a lot of signings, but she kept asking me. I'm glad she's asking me questions. She kept asking me a question, and then she'd email me another question, and then another question. I'm like, I'm jumping on a call with this notary. I'm making sure. So I called her up and said, have you done a lot of signings? And it was actually a United Wholesale Mortgage Loan Package, which is the largest lender in the country right now. Yeah. And she was like, I've never done one for this mortgage company before. And it's not like a big town either. So I'm like, okay, I can I think I might have been in like Idaho. So I said, you know what? I'm like, do you have the documents with you right now? She said, yeah. I'm like, let's go through page by page. And that's what I did that. Now, am I doing that often? No, I don't do that often. It is rare. It is rare for me.
I'll vet, and like that's what I said about being honest and saying whether or not if you've done all those signings or if you are new to that type of signing, because then, yeah, I will train you and I will make sure that you know what you're doing before you go and do it. So yeah, I will do some mentorship, and I've even had some notaries that I've called where they flat out said, you know what, I don't know how to do those, and I'd rather you find someone else. But would you be available to like teach me and show me how to do that? So even though I'm not using them for that signing, I am gonna still show them how to do that and mentor them and help them out, just so they are familiar. And then if something comes up in the future, I'll still reach out to them. But I'd rather someone new tell me they're new so I can mentor them and help them know the documents, rather than them just act like they know what they're doing and then just completely screw it up.
I'll give you guys a side tip as well. It's somewhat relatable to what you just asked here. But again, I can see when a notary has looked at the order at all or made in contact with the signers. And so if I send out a request for a signing and they say yes and I assign them, I usually, me or my scheduler will try to call them and just kind of vet them a little bit. If they don't answer, we understand maybe they're in a signing or something like that. So we'll just kind of email or leave a voicemail. And after they've accepted a signing, and we have automations in place, so after 1 hour that they've accepted it and they have not made contact, or I should say they haven't let us know whether they left a voicemail or they sent a text or they've confirmed it, we have automations that after an hour they get notified like, hey, please don't forget to call and confirm. And if it goes on and it's been a couple hours, and I'm trying to call the notary or texting or calling, they don't answer. Again, I understand that maybe they're in a signing, but I know they're not in a 2-hour signing, right? I know how long these take. So if it's been 2 or 3 hours and the notary responds, I will just remove them.
Yeah.
I will just remove them off of it and just find another notary. And then I've had a notary, I assigned it to them, 2 hours have gone by, they've not communicated with me, I've taken them off, another 2 hours has gone by and they call me up, hey, I'm trying to find this order, I don't see it anymore. Yeah, I took you off. Oh, you did? Yeah, you didn't respond? You didn't make communication? I took you off. I don't know if you're reliable. That's what tells me, how am I going to trust this notary to go out there? I've just taken people off all the time. Yeah. Just side note.
Everybody, as a new notary signer, and with these loan signing systems, my biggest issue, and I don't know that it's an issue, is figuring out the program, the systems, like what you just said, hey, they don't go on and they don't say that they confirm the appointment.
Yeah.
It's figuring out where to go on these systems to mark the right stuff, and I find it after the fact, and I'm like, oh, shoot,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was there.
So her statement is getting familiar with each platform that you get on, and that's something you have to do. You have to take the time to understand it. Is everyone pretty tech savvy? I mean, you definitely need to be tech savvy in this industry, to be honest. Right?
Well,
you have to be a
even
little tech savvy.
If you were having problems finding that you confirmed the signing, if you were contacted by the agency who hired you that, hey, did you reach out to them? You'd be able to respond and say, yes, I did.
Yeah, and I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I found those sections later, and it's
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can feel free to call again and ask too. Like you will get, no matter what platform you're on, you will get some sort of communication, text, email, most likely. You have some form of communication. You can reach out and just say, hey, I'm having trouble finding this. Can you guide me where to go? Like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
And it's just not knowing
Yeah.
that it was there
Right.
to do it. Oh, I didn't know that I had to go in and mark that I've called, that the appointment has been scheduled for X time.
But as long as you still communicate, that's still good.
And I'm just saying, these are some of the things as a new
Yeah.
signer that I don't know if they've already removed me or not, because you won't know.
Well, you'll know if you got the job. But if you can't find the job anymore, there's maybe a
If
reason.
you never get any more jobs, you won't know what.
Oh, if you don't get any more, yeah.
Right.
Hey,
You don't know, but it
you know,
is
on the
things
platform
that-
I use, I can blacklist notaries that I feel like just did not do a good job. And I can also see reviews. And if it's a review, a bad review from 3 years ago, I'm not going to hold that again. They have one bad review from 3 years ago, I'm going to assume they've corrected that mistake or the experience has led them not make that mistake anymore. I don't mind.
We're
Right.
human, right?
Yeah.
But I was just pointing that out for the new, go through the program.
Right, and I'm not team signing service owner, because I'll see some bad reviews. I'm like, that's pretty petty. Like, come on, signing service. That's your remark. That is a petty little remark.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, they forgot.
Sometimes you look at them and you're like, okay, but why are you giving that review?
Yeah, yeah. A couple more questions. Any other questions you guys want to ask Chantel? Okay, California acknowledgement. Okay.
I've myself the California acknowledgments, so I'll leave those in there, and I'll just correct any words that say California. I'll strike that out, initial it, and write Utah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I've always just left the California ones in there and just corrected California with Utah, and I've never had an issue.
So remember, for us in our state, to be compliant, the notary verbiage must have three things. The venue, which is state and county, the date, and the signer's name. As long as those three things are there, it doesn't matter what state the acknowledgement or jurat came from. As long as those three things are there, we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
Basically, it's compliant with us because it
Yeah.
has those three things.
yeah, because theirs is an overage. Basically, California.
It is an overage. You're right.
It's like it's above and
Overkill.
beyond what we need to be compliant, right?
Right.
Hawaii's the same way, right?
Yeah, like Hawaii, they have a whole block. Like, how many page of what you mentioned that? How many pages is this? What document is this?
Where
What
is it gonna be?
jurisdiction are you in?
Where is
right?
it going to be recorded at?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
10,000
So,
things,
yeah.
right?
If you don't know, Chantel came from Hawaii, and she was a signing agent in Hawaii.
Right, and so that's the thing is when you get stuff from other states, I think that's one of the big things is to if you're not sure about whether or not it's good or not, right? Call the signing service and say, "Okay, I'm going to make the change to this notary acknowledgement, and I'm going to do it this way. Is that okay, or do you want me to attach a loose leaf certificate?" Because they will know how their county recorders will deal with things. Like we all know that Summit County is a pain and Tooele County are a pain in the next recorder's offices. Utah County is pretty laid back in comparison, right? Salt Lake County's Salt Lake County. They're going to do what they're going to do, right? So we know, that's going to be recorded in Summit County, and they're going to be picky about these kinds of things. Or that's going to be recorded, like, one of the big ones is when you're dealing, especially out on the East Coast, all those attorney states, they're really picky about where your notary stamp is in relation to the margin.
Interesting.
Yeah, they want 1 inch.
They want 1 inch.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, my stamp is really big. Our Utah stamps are kind of fat. They just are in comparison to some of the other states. And so I think it's going to be an issue of a margin, I'll call the client, the attorney, or the signing service, or whoever it is, whoever gave me the business, and say, hey, my stamp is really big. I'm going to attach another page. Is that okay? Are they going to be okay with that? Or would you want me to try to squeeze it on there? Like, let them make that decision. Don't you try to make the decisions for them, because you trying to read their mind doesn't ever really work.
Right. Always ask. Over-communicate.
Over-communicating, yeah.
I just said something, and I just remembered another tip as well. When I said we require three things, right? The state, county, and the date, and the signers. Let's just say, for example, on the deed of trust, it's a split signing. Split signing meaning you're only meeting with one of the two people. In your notary section, if you're going to use that, you have to make sure you actually strike through the person that you're not with in your notary section only. Not on the, I've actually had some notaries, they just put signing, so they crossed out the person's name on the signature line. It's like, no, like they still need to sign it. They're just not signing with you. But on your notary section, strike through the name of the person you're not going to be with initial, because you did not notarize their signature. So you got to strike through that second person. So that's if it's a split signing. One more question, if anyone's got one for us. All right. Well, then thank you all for coming. I hope this helps you guys be peak signing agents, which is my reference to being above a great signing agent and notary. Thank you all. Thank you guys for talking with us.